Hey, Mike, how are you? Getting ready for Thanksgiving?
No, I'm just messing with you.
That was pretty good.
I know it was pretty good. I was just being real careful. Um,
Mm-hmm. Well,
Actually, Thanksgiving is not going to be what it usually is because every other year, and this would have been that year, I go to fabulous Arapahoe, Oklahoma, and we do a family reunion there. But nobody's traveling. The weather's going to be nasty.
mhm.
Um, I mean, there's all of the trepidations of our time to worry about. So no, we're not going
Tre-
to go anywhere. We're just going to hang out.
trepidations of our time.
Yeah, dude, there's a pandemic. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't
Pick
know
up
that.
pick up a paper every once in a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know.
Sure.
But I just came back from Mexico, so at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
tan.
That's right. You were partying up in Cabo.
Yeah,
How
at a
was that?
conference. Actually, the funniest thing is we did a panel last week about the
Hmm.
changes to CMMC. And for those who didn't attend, I had to find a motel that I could pay by the hour to get good internet. So that was
Wow.
exciting. But
It's
the Wi-Fi was good.
so I just before we go on, I want to say I have never been in a hotel where I had to pay by the hour. I want you to know that.
Congratulations! Thanks for telling me.
Mhm.
All right, so we should get to today's urgent news, which
Mhm.
is CISA and FBI are warning about Thanksgiving attacks. What do people need to know?
Well, there's not a lot of specificity in this thing, but what they're doing is they're bringing to everyone's attention the fact that there have been some really large events that have happened on holiday weekends, Memorial
Hmm.
Day, Labor Day, right? JBS meets, right? So we know about these things happening. And it's not unconscionable that our adversaries know exactly when there's not going to be anybody watching anything. So, I think the best advice that anybody could have out of this is make sure you continue to watch.
Hmm.
That somebody is tasked with that. And April, a friend of mine, suggested to her peers in the academic community that it wouldn't be a bad idea to put everything to sleep, especially workstations that aren't going to be being used, things like that. Just shut them down. You can't do
Yeah,
that with servers, but reduce your attack surface, I guess we'd say, as much as you can coming up into this weekend.
yeah. And April, who's a really truly wonderful person, also said nice things about our company, Critical Insight, which we deeply appreciate. But the other thing is making sure that your network is monitored over the holiday. That when people go home,
That's what I mean. Somebody's got to be watching.
that you gotta have somebody watching, which is what the FBI and CISA said as well.
Hmm. Right.
Um,
Well, that is the best advice that could come because they're not saying we have a specific threat that we think is anything like that. It's just, hey, they know when you're out of the office, so keep some eyes on.
what makes this holiday different than all other holidays? The age-old question. Um, the other thing that they brought up, which is a good reminder for folks, is about communication during holidays.
Hmm.
Right? When you started the pandemic, you might have had this great, wonderful call tree. When something happened, you'd call this person, that person, but that person might not work there anymore,
Yeah.
or might not be in the area anymore, right? So you got to update all of your communication things. I mean, Mike, you've seen incident preparedness plans completely change over the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that brings up one of the things that should be in everyone's plan is what's my law enforcement contact? And CISA and the FBI are super super good about projecting what their capabilities are and letting everybody know we're in your corner. You got to know how to get a hold of them. So
How do you figure out your law enforcement contact?
well, you network in the community and meet them is the best way to do it. But the one-stop shop for notifying local law enforcement, state law enforcement, federal law enforcement, Secret Service, marshals, anybody is the Washington State Fusion Center. And so if there is some kind of event, incident, something that you think needs to be brought to the attention of law enforcement and the intelligence community, um, that would be a SAR, a suspicious activity report,
Hmm.
and you can send that information to intake at WSFC, Washington State Fusion Center.wa.gov.
And what if you're not in Washington? What if you're in Oregon or
Then you
Oklahoma or
should
something like
figure
that?
out what the email address is for the submission of suspicious activity reports to your fusion center, because every state has fusion centers.
Every state has
So
Fusion. Okay.
Oregon's got one, California's got two. There's one in Northern California they call the NICRIC, which is very engaged with our own fusion center on cyber issues, and they share a lot of information. So yeah, find your fusion center, or make sure you know how to get a hold of, federal law enforcement, FBI, because they really want to know when stuff happens. There's been more reporting out this week on, um, there's we're going to end up with either a 24 or 72-hour time window in which you
Mhm.
need to report specifically a ransomware event, but I think it's going to be broadened. And the FBI is at the table saying, "Hey, we need to be in this loop," because they're the one, for the federal government, the FBI kind of the first responders for all of this.
Right, right.
Right. So, they want to be told, because what that allows us to do is aggregate all of this information and start to see who may have been targeted, who the group or gang is that's, behind something, and starts to let them take steps to not only get in front of it, but start the process of, maybe getting a hold of somebody and prosecuting him. So, and that's what we got to do, right? We
Yeah,
don't,
for sure.
if these guys don't end up in jail, they're going to keep doing it.
Mhm. You don't say. I
I
mean,
do
we
say.
haven't really given them a good reason to stop, except that finally there's a crackdown on them. But hey,
Mhm.
we've talked about that. All right. So besides that news, what's the other must-know news before people eat too much turkey?
Well, it's holiday coming up. People are going to be a little punched out for the most part. So let's not do any deep dives in anything. But let's see. During the preceding week or so, CISA warned that Iranian actors are exploiting unpatched Fortinet firewalls. Okay, and we've seen this happen. Also, Microsoft Exchange. So they say they're focused on a broad range of victims, but healthcare is specifically called out there. So healthcare in particular, keep the radar up. CISA also released a few incident response playbooks. This is a cool thing. So it's a good idea to download these and study those and modify them for your business if you can. Those are great. Um, the Emotet Trojan is back and now affiliated with TrickBot ransomware, and they're spamming like crazy to get new victims. So, watch the email for bait. Tribal casinos are being hit as a sector. Let's see. Homeland Security has implemented the Cyber Talent Management System, and they are hiring like crazy, right? So, and the only way that they could compete is to up salaries. Some of these salaries that they are offering to work with the federal government, the Department of Homeland Security, and CISA, up to more than $300,000 a year. So
Really?
yeah. So yeah, I just shot on my resume. China is requesting a U.S. court to overturn the ban on China telecom. I will be surprised if they prevail. I don't think they will. You probably read that Israeli organizations are being targeted with destructive ransomware, right? So it means ransomware that hits, but no extortion demand comes, and so the victim is just hosed up; they can't operate. So killware, if that's what you
I
want
was
to
going to
call it.
say, is that the killware? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the equivalent of it, right? Uh, uh, Costco had a data breach. They found card skimmers at some of their stores, which is great timing for the holiday season. Um, this I know you know about this one. Mary's Place. The city of
Yeah.
Seattle was fooled into redirecting, I think it was more than $800,000 in support away from Mary's Place, which is a homeless shelter for women and kids. Payments redirected to criminals. Okay. I mean, those are really the kinds of ones that something really, really nasty needs to happen to. Um,
I really hope karma exists.
oh, we knew about this one a while back because we actually worked on incident response. We couldn't say anything about it, but now it's in the paper, so we can say it. Millions of IoT devices are being targeted by a botnet. And the software for that botnet is written in Google's Go language, interestingly. Um, FBI's mail server compromise from a week or something like that ago was specifically done to target a single security researcher.
It's a lot of effort for that.
um, in southern Ohio and Newfoundland, they both have health systems that have been crippled, presumably by ransomware. Nobody's saying that, but presumably, and patients are being diverted. So that's probably enough right
That's a
there.
lot, man. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
There's,
Ugh.
there's, CISA, and I'm putting it in tomorrow's blast as well as yesterday's blast. And this warning about CISA, keep the radar up as much as you can over the weekend. If something weird happens, man, you got to get in front of it. Stuff's going to be moving.
Tail feathers up.
Yeah.
So, as we go toward the holiday,
Mhm.
everybody is wondering, does Mike have something besides ransomware that I can talk about at the holiday table? Is there something that my non-IT relatives will think is funny or useful?
Funny or
We
useful?
call it the kicker. It's the thing
I
at the
know, I
end.
know, I know. But if it was something I was going to talk about, it would probably be the fact that, just in terms of predictions for the upcoming year, the private sector is going to get real tight with the federal government on this stuff, because now that FedGov is like, firmly in everybody's corner, we all want this stuff to stop. And so they're going to go, yeah, I'll tell you what happens within 24 hours if it makes more of it stop, which I think that's a sea change for the way capitalist organizations are. But a kicker, okay? Well, okay, since we're coming up to the end of the year, all those stories come out, the best of, right? Predictions for the next year, right? I'm being asked to make a bunch of predictions for next year. Um,
I
the
predict we'll all have flying cars with Michael J. Wait.
I predict it will finally be the year of PKI. No, it's been that every year since 1998. Why do we pay Gardner? Never mind. Um, So the one that came out this week is the top worst passwords of 2021, right? And these are all from all the password dumps and all the stolen stuff that gets exposed online, and you can buy it, and we bought it. We have that stuff. Um, Man, people, you have learned nothing. The top 10 are all numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Well, they said I had to have a 9-character password. Also in the top 10, QWERTY, the word QWERTY, the word password in the top 10. And it turns out a lot of people use their names as passwords. Okay. So the article points out that the top 50 can all be brute forced in less than 1 second. Okay. So what does this show? This shows that there is not now, nor will there ever be, a firewall for stupid.
So, that's why I use Jake as all of my passwords, because if somebody were to look me up, they'd see Jacob, but I've tricked them by using Jake.
I'm going to check that right
All right, everybody.
now. Okay, everybody.
Have a
Happy
good one.
Thanksgiving.
Make
Yep.
sure to use your nickname for your passwords. And his is like Hammy123, and which doesn't really work for Thanksgiving.
No,
All right.
it's Zildjian.
All right. Goodbye,
Because
everybody.
nobody can spell it. Bye, everybody.